I was excited then when we had like our first 50K a month. I was like, damn, okay, we're like hot stuff, you know? And then we end up in this agency where people are casually talking about like 300K months and you know, and then you realize like it's all perspective. You know, I can care about these vanity metrics, or I can just care that, you know, I shared a message that was true and honest, and somebody, you know, that one person felt a little bit of hope.
Hello and welcome to the Hustle Over Everything podcast. We're ready to pod today. This is the podcast where you receive stories, tips, and strategies from entrepreneurs who've done it to grow your business and take yourself to the next level as a person. Later today on the podcast, we have Veronika Abrams. She's the host of Hero Academy podcast, which ranked number 33 on Apple Podcasts in entrepreneurship with only 3 days of its launch. Since then, it's already dominated the top 100, often top 50 charts in 9 countries. So Veronika is renowned for not only her expertise, but her passion for teaching others how to build an authentic and aligned personal brand by owning their hero story. She has an interesting course where she talks to people about her journey creating ads on her podcast and building a platform that generates over 50K a month straight off her courses. So, Owen, what's good with you, bro?
No drought here, as I always say. But you know, I'm coming live from the Sarnia, Ontario. Sarn Vegas, as we call it here, bro. Celebrating my sister's Sarn Vegas, bro.
Sarn Vegas? Don't do that. You're calling it Sarn. Who calls it Sarn Vegas? Stop right there.
Yo, it's
who calls it Sarn Vegas,
joke, bro? You know what I'm saying? It's an inside joke. When I was texting my boys, you know, like my guys I grew up with, Mike, Logan, you know, all the man. You're like, yo, man, I just touched down in Sarn Vegas. You know, it's a city, it's such a family town that like we try and joke like it's so live, but like saying it's like Vegas, Sarn Vegas, because you gotta make your own fun.
Because it's the absolute opposite. That's why
it's totally opposite from Vegas.
Got you. So yo, let's talk business.
A lot's been going on. I know there's a lot of things with Facebook. I'm really curious to be, you know, educated on what's going on within that part.
All right. Well, one thing I wanted to talk about is the Instagram just did two major things this week. One, they got rid of their analytics platform on June 30th. If you didn't already download your analytics, I'm sorry, but you messed up there. The next thing, what the heck is going on outside? People are just beeping like crazy. Oh, it's soccer, yeah.
Bro, is
the World Cup on or something?
Euro Cup?
I think the World Cup's on. Looks like I see a bunch of flags. I see a bunch of flags, and people are beeping like crazy. So yeah, Facebook did two things. So one, the analytics, and then two, they rolled out the Reels ads. And so if you're a small entrepreneur listening, this could be big for you. So Reels is the newest feature from Facebook and Instagram, right? Here's the thing. Companies, what they have is a revenue per user. I was explaining this to a client this week, right? Companies have revenue per user, right? So what they do is when they roll out new platforms, they reward users who take advantage of these new metrics that they can measure to say, hey, this customer is taking advantage of this, and this is a valued customer. So this is, you know, someone who deserves to get more shares for their content. You know, this is how they validate the revenue that they're putting into each product that they release. So as a business, you got to start using these new platforms to leverage, to reach more people, to sell your products, to sell your services. Plain and simple. It doesn't matter if it's Reels, stories, highlights. The more you use the new features of a platform, the more they will reward you, because they have to make a business case that this new feature is worth it. Point blank, period. So with Reels coming out, they're about to start rewarding people who use it. So right now it's first mover's advantage on Instagram Reels ads. So right now, ads for stories are one of the cheapest forms of getting the cheapest cost per click, cost per sale, cost per whatever. So if you're a business owner right now, listen, get on Instagram Reels. Also Instagram announced that they're no longer a photo sharing platform. They're now a video sharing platform. They are 100% competing with TikTok. TikTok is taking market share away, and they are nervous and shaking their boots. So y'all think about video content for your ads and for your content, point blank period. All right, that's what we're gonna say about that, man. But yeah, what do you think?
I'm always enlightened when you share these things, bro, because you're so deep in the ad world and you're always, getting first dibs of the information because of your agency. Yeah, I know, like, even for us, we're doubling down on Reels, right? A lot of the content that, like, we're going to be making is Reels. I have to learn how to make Reels on Adobe and, like, make it, like, native for our brand. So that's exciting. It's a new learning opportunity for me. So, yeah, bro, I'm excited to see where Reels is going to go. And, like, even IG, man, I was, like, really messing around with it yesterday. I was like, I'm trying to post something and I got to, like, do finger gymnastics all over my screen just to, like, find where to post something. But Reels is, like, right then and there in front of you. So I'm just like, okay, this is definitely changing. Like, stories is changing. It's like you can see they're slowly shuffling in them in the back. It's like, okay, you guys get on the bench. Reels, you're starting today. Like, you're running the point. So yeah, man, like, big ups on that, bro. Like, we gotta double down on Reels, man, and build up this following.
Facts. Other things than that, though, aside from Facebook, Hulu just announced that they're about to release their own self-service ad platform, which is very interesting for small businesses like us. Yeah. So you can put your ads now in the, the advertisement of someone watching Smart Guy or whichever ad, whichever platform is being shown on Hulu right now. So that could be interesting for people who have creative ads and that are a little bit longer, that are not Reels and don't have that kind of, like, production style yet, So something to think about, y'all. Like, Hulu ads is something that could be the future of advertising, or something to compete. Because right now everyone's trying to compete with Facebook and Google. Those are the two monsters right now. So yeah, man.
And first mover advantage, right? Like, getting on something new and fresh. It's like you're getting all the eyeballs immediately because it's undiscovered, and Hulu's like an established platform, streaming platform, up with the Netflixes and etc.s. So yeah, as marketers, we got to be able to, like, adapt on the fly and test out a bunch of things and see how they respond, and go where no one else is at before it gets too crowded, before it becomes like a red ocean.
We're going to hop into the podcast with Veronika. Veronika, thank you for being on the show. Appreciate you. All right, y'all. We've seen you on the other side. Peace.
Peace out, guys. Happy Monday.
Hey, what's up, guys? To support this show for free, here are some main options. If you're on Apple, make sure you rate and write a review of our podcast. This makes a huge difference and helps support the show. If you're on Spotify, follow us. If you're on Google Play, hit subscribe and auto-download so you'll be notified and have a fresh pod ready to go when we drop. Lastly, make sure you share the podcast on Instagram or whichever social platform you use and tag us. On Twitter, we're at 24/7 Hustlers. On Instagram, we're at 24/7 Hustler. And on Facebook, we're Hustle Over Everything. And now, guys, you gotta pay attention to this point. We just dropped a new newsletter. It's called The Underrated. It's a weekly newsletter that breaks down untold stories that highlight game-changing business strategies that shape our sports, music, and culture. It drops once a week on Mondays, early in the morning, to prep you for the week. So subscribe to that, and we'll see you in the pod. Today we have Veronika Abrams on the show. She's the host of Top 50 Podcast, the Hero Academy podcast. You can check that out on all streaming platforms, of course. She also helps you grow and monetize your podcast without ads and create a passive income while having fun. So if you want to check more about Veronika, you can check the links in the description or in the podcast details and find out more. Veronika, what's good with you? How you doing?
Doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me here. I was really, really looking forward to this time to hang out with you.
Yeah, as a fellow podcaster, we're so excited to chat with you. pick your brain about podcasting, how you got to where you're at today. So we're super excited to get on with this.
Most definitely.
Amazing. I'm excited to get started too.
Most definitely.
Let's go.
So, as an icebreaker, one thing I wanted to, unpack with you is the fact that you've moved from Waterloo, to Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, what Canadian things do you miss the most? And what's some of the things you're so happy to leave behind?
Okay, so starting with the things that I miss. Now, I mean, safety. It's not as scary as some people think, but I mean, back home, it would be like I'd go hiking and not really be too concerned about it, but I'm not going to really go out in the jungle here.
Yeah.
As a woman by herself, or even with like a man, if I was to bring my boyfriend or something, like they know that you're not locals. So, and I can't get away with, like, I got a bit of Spanish that I can get away with, but not too much. So, I mean, that's a different kind of reality. I think that, obviously there are parts of Canada in every city that, you're not going to necessarily walk, at night and feel super, super comfortable. But overall, it's really, we have a great country in that regard, that we do feel safe. I mean, as for why I left, cost of living is just becoming so expensive. And the reality is the kind of life that I want to live, I just could not, like, even with making a really good income, like even making multiple 6 figures or, 7 figures, so much of your money is going towards paying bills. And I just really don't want to do that anymore. Like, again, having been an entrepreneur for over 10 years, I'm in my 30s and I'm like, fuck, I'm kind of done giving all my money away. So yeah, I mean, grateful for, being first generation Canadian. My mother came from Romania and that was a communist country. So grateful for, the home that Canada was to me, but it's a new chapter for me.
Hold on. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, why Mexico out of all places?
So I wasn't anticipating on staying here. So I was in the U.S. and in California for 6 months, and you're allowed to stay easily 180 days as Canadian in the U.S. Now, with everything that happened last year, I wasn't going to go back to the U.S. I wasn't too fond of it. I was in L.A., and it was just insane what was happening. So I ended up just looking up, like, where could I go that was accessible, and I also have a dog that I travel with, so Mexico, 4.5 hour flight, 5 hour flight, and then I could get another 180 days. So I came to Mexico 180 days, and then I was able to get an extension. So I've got another 6 months that I'm going to be here. But it just felt like home. I've traveled to quite a few other places. I would say Spain is maybe the other place that felt really good. But when you just go somewhere and you lay your head down and you just have the best sleep ever. It
just hits different, yeah.
It hits different. And the area that I'm in, in Tulum, it's got so much history with the, like, Mayan culture. And I've learned so much while I've been here about history and a different part of spirituality. And just a different kind of peace. So it really welcomed me in, and I hadn't felt that for a very, very long time.
I hear you. Being in Tulum, is it like a ton of tourists running around? Oh, I don't know if you hear the thunder in the background, but yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, is a ton of like tourists running around, and does that get annoying for you as like a semi-permanent resident there? What?
So Tulum, it's got, I'm about 10, 15 minutes from the beach. So I'm in a little like city, called Aldiazama, and it's a very cute little, place. There's all these buildings, and on the bottom, like, little restaurants, boutique hotels and, cafes and stuff like that are kind of popping in, little convenience stores. The way this is laid out too, it's got little pockets of, like, jungle too, so they're keeping a lot of the green and that sort of thing. So it's a nice, like, residential area. a little bit bougie, but it's super cute. And yeah, 15, maybe 20 minutes away is where the hotel strip is. And of course, it's very touristy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can go there, once or twice a week to a beach club and enjoy sort of that atmosphere. But I love the jungle. Here you got the beach and then the beautiful beach view. But at the same time, there's just something about, going to the rooftop and just hearing the jungle, just seeing, green. It's beautiful. So you definitely can run away from that. I'm not a big partier. There's a lot of DJs that come and stuff. So there is more of like a similar like to Ibiza kind of feel. Mm-hmm. But there's also this other side of Tulum that's very much like, retreats, quiet, spiritual, meditation. So you got a good part of both worlds. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful.
It's beautiful, yeah.
It reminds me of going to Thailand. That was like my experience there. It was very peaceful, quiet, where I stayed was a little bit bougie too, so I was like, listen, if I can pay less and live more, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why not, so.
Yeah. We're not attached like we used to, like, maybe our parents were and getting like the house mm-hmm. and all this kind of stuff. I think most of us are wanting to live through experiences rather than just owning things.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Speaking of like our parents and creating that life, you've had a big story, when it comes to your hero journey, tying it on into the Hero Podcast. See what I'm doing there? You see me? Going from turning 29 to 30, right? Could you walk us through that point in your life?
Yeah. God damn. Like when you like life has been such a whirlwind. I'm 33. I'm going to be 34 this year. Mm-hmm. And even just the last year, there's been like, more of a hero story. But yeah, what really kicked me off into transitioning from my other business, which was in renovations, and I had, like more of a physical business and office, to more into the online space, was I went through kind of this reset in life that was not intentional. Within the span of 6 weeks, my partner came to me and said he wasn't in love with me anymore, and I thought we were going to get married, mm-hmm. Completely blindsided me. My best friend and her husband moved to Spain, far away. My mother sold her house and moved from Ontario to Alberta to stay with my brother and his family. And that whole friend group, because we had been like as a couple, that whole friend group kind of just disappeared overnight. And I turned 30, so I hit this like big milestone, and it was like, whoa, it's like moving, but not moving, where everything is gone. And I spiraled. I really spiraled really hard. I fell into, and this was very intentionally. It wasn't like, whoops. It was like, I don't know if I can swear. Can I swear?
It's okay. We'll be
yeah, it's all good.
Okay. But I was like, yeah, I really intentionally went into like drugs and alcohol. For me, it was trying to cope and, having to run a business and be chipper and happy. And then at night, just hating my own company and hating everything about life and just downing bottles and blacking out. Like that was how I lived for about a year until I realized it's like, nobody's listening to your little violin play. Like nobody's around. It's just you and you're being self-destructive. So I had to go through this transformation journey because I genuinely asked myself, like, do I want to continue and go on? And I said, it's not that I don't want to be around. I just don't want to live so sad. And I had to take radical ownership over why I was where I was in life. I was a people pleaser. I really compromised my own purpose in order for my clients, for, my partners, for my friends. And it wasn't out of place of like genuine service and authenticity. It was a place of seeking validation. Mm-hmm. And that's, what happens when you constantly do that and you live for others rather than really genuinely living your fullest and most authentic version of yourself. It chips away at your identity. You come to this place of, I don't know who I am. And that's really where I was. And, as much as it sucks having all these people abandon you, when you're a stranger to yourself, mm-hmm. I think that's the loneliest place to be in the world, when you're a stranger to yourself. So I had to go through this journey of getting back on my feet, overcoming, addiction, and also, finding out who I was. And that was took about 6 months to a year to get clean. And then I started telling my story. That's how I actually got into podcasting. Was I started going on other people's podcasts, and then eventually they're like, you should really start your own. And then also through my journey, I started coaching a little bit people, helping them with building confidence, understanding their identity from the grassroots up, as I had to do as well when I first started my journey. So it came from a place of, again, service, but self-exploration as well, and not a place of validation, but really genuinely caring, having known how much pain I'd been through, to really want to help others discover who it is that they were at their core as well. So that's how I got into it. And then, I guess the rest is kind of history, but I got into podcast coaching because I wanted people to also feel empowered to use their voice. And things kind of snowballed.
So I want to this is a very critical part in your life, but just to paint a picture of before getting to this moment where your partner's leaving you or you're about to turn 30, give us a glimpse into your entrepreneurial ventures before that, leading up to that point. What were you doing? What was your business? How was the business doing up to that point until that position of everything just came crashing and burning?
I mean, I've always been entrepreneurial. I never quite fit in a regular 9 to 5. I had, an online clothing store before Shopify was a thing, selling vintage thrift stuff online. My main business for about 8 years had been a renovation business. So I actually went to school for biogenetics at Waterloo. I dropped out in third year, realizing that it just was not, my calling, and there was no point in getting into more debt and, more severe anxiety and depression over something that just was not going to serve me. And I ended up knocking on doors just because I wanted to do renovations. I, grew up with the HGTV and all that stuff. And I loved seeing these, external transformations. It's interesting how I ended up getting more into these external internal transformations. But I ended up knocking on doors, and this was I call it, 2 feet in a heartbeat. I had no marketing money. I had no degree. I had barely any experience except for being a do-it-yourselfer growing up and as a teenager. And I knocked on doors, scared as hell, playing Eye of the Tiger in my car because I thought, it worked for Rocky. Maybe it's going to work for me. Yep. Was awful at first, and I just, had no shame left, so I just kept knocking on doors, and that's how I started my business, 1 door, 2 doors, and I was like, what, I'm going to commit to 100. I'm going to commit to 100 before I give up. 100 doors. In the span of 4 weeks, I booked $50K worth of work, and then I had to figure out how to actually do it, because I was like, I kind of know renovations, but it was very small projects and a lot of research and a lot of, humbling myself to ask questions and find mentors. But that's how I started my business. And, I learned a lot. I didn't have, I'm a very different person now as to how I operate my business. I'm more of a numbers person. I look at data a lot closely rather than just the emotional side of things. At that time when things happened, hitting 30 and all that, it was at the tail end of it, it's, when the love is just gone. So the love was definitely gone for that business. I couldn't sustain it. And, there's a lot of reasons I could say that it was or wasn't working for me. But at the end of the day, who knows how or why you get to where you are. But it was a chapter that needed to close. And I'm really glad that it did. It hasn't been an easy ride to get here, but I think it was the right thing.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of entrepreneurs, right? Their businesses go down by just the nature of things. Some things progress and people look back and they're like, oh, why'd you quit your business? You're doing so well. But internally as an entrepreneur, there's so many things that go in within you that just tell you it's time for growth. It's time to move on to something new. And that's happened to me. That's happened to a lot of my friends who look like they had fledgling businesses. I remember a friend of mine, she had a drink business, and I was like, wow, you have a great brand. Why are you quitting this? And she shared the same thing. I was just like, you know what? It's just not clicking. And I think we need to make that a lot more normal in communicating that. Like, it's okay to move on from something because, hustle culture has made it, you're looking down upon someone to move on from a business. Like, oh, you gave up. You're not strong enough to continue on. But there's more to it than just not giving up. There's a mental side of it. There's a timing of it. There's a lot of different things. I think we need to start normalizing more of it and stop shaming people for leaving businesses that look good on paper, that are doing well, and moving on to something else.
Yeah, it's it comes with maturity too, to realize when is this just difficult or is it over? And I mean that also goes with relationships, right? Like, is this just a bump in the road or is this a sign? And it takes time to kind of figure that out. With the business that I have now, there's been ups and downs, but I would say that it's given me more than it's taken. And I also know from experience that, the actual model is a lot more sustainable. I think that there are times where you're going to have to press through, but you have to have a vision of what's on the other side. And, for that business, I didn't have a vision of the next chapter. There was nothing to really look forward to. It would just be more of the same difficulty.
Yeah.
And I think this is where also the parallel between relationships and a business sort of venture kind of is similar, where it's like, I don't see the good anymore. I don't see how we'll ever get back to the good times. They're so far behind that it's such a, faint memory, rather than, okay, this is like a little bump, but I see that this next chapter, that there's so much potential. So, and if somebody doesn't want to continue, maybe it would work for somebody else, but it's not for you. That's okay too. Maybe something else is.
Yeah. And now that we've established what happened in the past, now we are here. You turn 30. You're getting into podcasting. You're getting into consulting. Walk us through those steps of, I'm now a guest on all these shows. I'm going to start my own podcast. And then leading up to now working with people who are looking to get started within the podcasting space.
Yeah. So I launched my podcast. It ranked top 33 within entrepreneurship within 3 days of launching.
That's big.
It's
3 days.
Okay, so here's the thing. I've recorded probably 100 episodes. That's like 2 seasons. I've had celebrities. And I didn't air those episodes. I aired 13 episodes in my first season. Right now I'm launching another podcast called the Veronika Abrams Show. So you could see kind of the journey of me just, more coming into myself too, and my own personal brand. I paused my podcast because I essentially proved the concept, and I also was going about things very differently than other podcasters were, from a branding perspective, from a strategy perspective. And also because I was an entrepreneur, I didn't go about monetizing the way that a lot of podcasters are told to, which is through ads, affiliates, and sponsors. I monetized through my own offers, and that's how I was able to bring in $20,000 worth of business within the first season, or basically one season. Now I monetized off of Facebook, Instagram, podcasting, so obviously revenue comes in from everywhere. But really, I could look back on who came in, from the podcast, and it was about $20,000 worth of business. So I ended up doing, opening up an agency, and I put my own podcast on hold for a number of reasons, mostly because I got a little bit jaded with the industry, and I was interviewing a lot of entrepreneurs, people that I admired, and even celebrities, people that I admired, but then when I actually interviewed them, I was really disappointed. So I stopped airing episodes, and I was helping other people with their podcast through an agency, more of like a one-on-one, consulting. Pardon me. Plus also doing actually their visual branding. So I had a team that would help them with their designs and all that kind of stuff and kick them off. then in that process, I realized, okay, well, if I really want to help as many people as possible, not just get into the podcasting space, but really become entrepreneurs and develop not just a side income, but something that can truly become like their passion, and they can be self-sustaining. They're not going to be relying on other brands and companies. Like I really truly believe in building your own house. And if somebody comes to me and they're like, Veronika, I don't know what I can do for a course or something, I'm like, you know what? As you go through this process of building your brand, one, getting to know your voice and who you are, two, getting to know your audience and having that dialogue also through social media strategy and your podcast and all that, you're going to figure out what that little thing is that you can do to serve them. And as you take care of your audience will take care of you. There is something there, you can't tell me that you would live 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever years, and you don't have something that you can offer. So I ended up, I had my agency, but then essentially everything I was taking them through, I started to document all the curriculum. And then I launched, kind of beta launched my podcast course little by little, and then started offering, free courses. So, you guys have heard about my masterclass. And I realized, I was like, I'm one person, but how can I make the most impact? And it's really through something like online education. I love teaching people. I love doing that. And even as an introvert, I realized that I was able to get into the online space and learn the algorithms, learn the strategy, and do it with relative, ease. It doesn't have to be this fight with social media or, Big Brother or like how everything is. I believe that you can curate your online community just like you can curate your friends in person. So yeah, I got into the online space, and I would say launching the podcast course last summer, little by little, taking on a few students here and there, doing some little mini trainings and workshops. And then really at the beginning of this year is where we kicked off the full program. Obviously we keep, improving it. I expanded my team, and yeah, I've taught thousands of people. We're looking at like hundreds within the program, and it's been, I feel very grateful that I made it. I really am. It's a hell of a ride, but it was worth it.
Man, yeah, it's incredible. It's really incredible. So there's so much to unpack there.
So much.
yeah. And you mind just backing up from your mic a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when it comes to, figuring out what you were doing right and what other podcasters were doing wrong, one thing you mentioned, of course, was monetizing their own service versus relying on other businesses. All right, boom. Now, could you speak to what else podcasters are doing wrong when it comes to being discoverable, having a good brand? What you think led to you becoming top 33 podcast entrepreneurship, which is a pretty solid feat, when it comes to entrepreneurship podcasts, because there's a lot of them, versus people who don't end up in that list.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I see, and this is not just podcasting, but as you get into like social media, it's so easy to compare yourself to other people. And rather than maybe using somebody as inspiration, you kind of try to mimic them. And whether it's like the perfect kind of photos or the way that they say things or, all this kind of stuff, that's really what I think keeps people back the most is, you try to be copy paste a carbon copy of other people. Right now with COVID and stuff, it's a bit different, but my signature thing is pink hair. I've had people with my ads and stuff say, make comments about my body if my photo was on it. I had a guy say, I would never trust somebody with pink hair. I've actually had a lot of online hate that had I not been strong enough and really had a solid sense of identity, and that's all that identity work that I did when I first, was going through my transformation journey, that would have crushed me. And at times at the beginning it did shake me a little bit. But you're not here to serve that person's audience. You've got your own people, your own community, and there's no way that you're going to be able to connect with them if you don't do it through authenticity. And sometimes that might be sharing a blooper. Sometimes that might be, swearing. Sometimes that might be, not showing up all, done up or something. Sometimes that might be talking about how you have a hard day. When it comes to social media strategy, I give people this challenge. Don't worry so much about the content. Like, oh, what do I say? Show up in your stories every single day for 30 days and just be yourself. Whether it's, that you had a good day or a bad day, just show up and be human and show your face. It's incredible how the most engagement I had oftentimes was with topics I didn't think people would really connect with, but I just ended up sharing, and it was a genuine story, and they're like, oh my God, I totally get that. I felt like that. Thank you so much for saying that, because nobody ever talks about it. So don't be a copy. Obviously, you want to put good quality content out and do your best, but show up with like your bumps and bruises. Show up with your depression sometimes. Show up with, your goofiness, your awkwardness. There's people who are waiting for somebody to show up as human that they connect with, rather than just a highlight reel.
Yeah, that's real. No pun intended.
That's the hero story. The hero story is not perfect. Like, who has a hero story without like goblins and big bosses that try to take them down, or times that they, any hero story starts with somebody who is down and out, uncertain, feels out of place, feels like an outcast, rejected. Like this is how a hero story starts. This is why we're so endeared to these characters, whether it's Harry Potter or some other movie, right? Like Rocky. We're endeared to them because of how human they are. And then we're invested in their success story because we saw them when they were, down and out, right? Like, how much more proud are you of somebody who's buying their dream car when you've actually been there for the whole journey and saw them online when they were struggling, and they were just encouraging people even from a place of where they didn't have their needs met. And now they're buying their dream car, like how you're cheering them on. Whereas if you don't know the backstory, or if you're not invested in somebody's backstory and you just see a dude on Instagram sitting up against like a fancy car, you don't feel the same way. It's the backstories that really get us to connect with people. It's the down and out. It's when you're rejected. It's all that stuff that builds rapport and empathy. So it's ridiculous that we tend to want to hide that part when that's, the part that gives people hope. Mm-hmm. It bridges the gap with hope when you tell both sides of the story.
You know what I think it is, Veronika? Sorry, I was just going to say this on. I feel like it's the instant gratification that you get from showing the highlight reels, right? What you've just illustrated right then and there is, if I'm showcasing the journey, there's nothing sexy or exciting about that. And it takes like a lot of work for you to really build that up and showcase the journey. For example, we had a similar conversation like this where we know there's people who are watching what we're doing. There are silent supporters, but they're not going to be right then and there liking, commenting, showcasing your podcast. But they're watching for sure, because there's certain things. We did like a Jay-Z prank one time, and the amount of people who showed up just because we had Jay-Z right then and there was crazy. We're like, I didn't even know you're interested. I had like random people. Alex had random people messaging him like, hey bro, like I just heard you got Jay-Z, man. Congrats. But all these other podcasts we've done, they were nowhere to be found. Right. So the thing about the like nowhere to be found is like, wow, like where were you when we were dropping 40 episodes ago? Like you didn't come and say, I got so much value from that. But just because it's Jay-Z, boom, right then and there. And I think that feeling of showcasing that highlight reel and doing it over and over, it gets you those results. Then if I'm waiting a prolonged time showcasing my journey, like there's no, which we're doing, like showcasing the steps of a podcast, we don't see that outpour of support until we are holding a shiny object which people want to latch onto. So it's like this conflict of desire people have, like, okay, should I stay true, or should I just stay patient until I get there where I can have true fans, or should I just get that instant jolt of happiness because people will see me posing behind a Lamborghini? And you know those fake gurus that are like flying in private jets, they're rented, or they're popping bottles in the beach in Miami, like because of their Shopify store doing $1 million, you know, in revenue, but they make it seem like it's profit, right? It's those type of things. And I think a lot of people have conflict with that. And I feel like it's human nature more than anything, more than being logical about it. I think it's like wired within us to get gratification, and also that affirmation from other people around us to tell us that we're doing well, because no one wants to be in that position where they're just working with no feedback from everybody.
That's an interesting take. I think at the beginning of your journey, you're going to care a lot more about that validation than at the end, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, even now, I mean, we've had some big months, but we were, you know, you think you're a big deal until you end up in some other crowds and you realize you're a small player, you know? And then you don't care so much about if people comment, or if they, you know, I was excited then when we had like our first 50K a month. I was like, damn, okay, we're like hot stuff, you know? And then we end up in this agency where people are casually talking about like 300K months, and you know, and then you realize like it's all perspective. You know, I can care about these vanity metrics, or I can just care that, you know, I shared a message that was true and honest, and somebody, you know, that one person felt a little bit of hope, you know, and it made a difference. I know when I was going through recovery and my transformation journey, I listened to podcasts and watched YouTube channels like Ed Milet, where, you know, he was talking about his low times. You know why? Because I needed to see that somebody who's worth $500 million at this point knew what it was like to hit bottom, you know? That gave me hope. That I could see that he's doing well, but also to know the backstory. So, you know, you doing something, and then, yeah, people come around you and they're so excited and they celebrate with you, and that can give you a sense of validation in the moment. But there's going to be a time where you just won't care about that anymore. You know, you just do you. You don't need the feedback. And that one person that drops in your DMs and says thank you is going to matter more than all the people who are like, you know, celebrating and who've never really, you know, mentioned you or bothered you before, you know, dropping a comment in some celebrity, you know, picture that you're taking. All these things, it's a weird journey. It's a weird journey because you think that once you hit some milestones, you're going to feel that sense of gratification. But what I've realized when it comes to purpose is there's two motivations. There's validation, and you'll never be satisfied if you're chasing validation. Never, you know, there'll never be enough. But if you live with a desire of self-exploration, that's where satisfaction is. That's where true purpose is. You know, the fact that you said you met Jay-Z.
No, it was a prank.
It was a prank.
April
Okay.
Fool's prank, yeah.
April Fool's
it was an
prank.
April Fool's prank. But let's say like there's somebody that you meet that you really admire. You know, to take a picture with that person and post it and get all this validation, like that's one thing, comes and goes. But for you to have had that milestone moment for yourself, that's, I think, where it should matter most, right?
Most definitely.
And feel like, wow, you know, that's something on my bucket list, and I'm really grateful that I got to like connect with that person. Yeah, I know this is a totally different discussion than podcasting.
Oh yeah, we went on a different path here.
Yeah, a different thing. Yeah. And one thing I want to mention is you know, this thing I was telling Owen about, actually, weight room theory. Remember I was talking about this, Owen?
Yeah. Share more about that, man.
I call weight room theory.
What is it?
Weight room theory.
Weight room theory, okay.
Yeah, so, or even fitness theory, that, you know, when you go to the gym for the first time and you're out of shape, you know, you go to the gym and you start working out and in the gym there's the weight room, and there's like, let's say 4 guys in the weight room, and you start lifting some weights up, like, oh man, these are heavy as hell. And you look to the right and you see a guy working out and he's lifting weights easily, and like, man, I can't wait to be like him. He's killing it, right? And you pan over to the guy that's lifting those weights, and he's lifting them like, man, I'm lifting these weights, but he's looking at the guy next to him, and he's like, man, I can't wait to get like him, right? But if either of those guys were to exit the weight room and you go to around their family, they'd be like, oh, I'm so buff. Oh, this, so that. Oh, I'm so buff. But, oh, look at you. You're so buff. You're so muscular. You've been working out for a while, but mentally he's chasing something completely different that they're not even looking at. You know what I'm saying? Right. And in that weight room, like I said, there was 4 guys. The guy that's even at the end of that line isn't even looking at those other 3 guys behind them. He's looking at some guy on Instagram trying to get something that's unattainable, and that guy's probably on steroids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
like
it's just
Kardashians being like, my ass is real. It's like, no, honey, it's not.
It's not real.
Exactly. So it's just ever, like you're saying, this ever chasing validation that we're looking for, and that can only come from inside, unless you just want to feel empty continuously by chasing that. So yeah, that's the weight room theory. But
yeah,
go ahead.
Exactly. It's that's why you have to ask yourself, like, what's my motivation for this? Is it coming from a place of a need for external validation, or internal intrinsic exploration? I've seen this actually a lot more with men who are successful, let's say like in their 30s, that they have the beautiful girlfriend or wife, the baby, the amazing job, but then they'll get like depressed, and it's because they've kind of achieved everything. They're kind of at the top of their game. They got the big director role or something, and then they're depressed because there's nothing else, because there's always this chase and competitiveness, and it's just more of the same rather than, again, coming from a place of self-exploration where it's like, then you can take risks. There's always going to be a new challenge. There's always going to be, something else for you to explore. Whereas you've kind of reached your peak and everybody's already impressed with you. So you're not getting any more validation, It's just like, okay, it's just you're just doing well, whatever. And they just feel the sense of like not being accomplished, even though they're so accomplished. So it's a really downhill spiral. And at this point in life, I'm excited to be in an industry where I can just continue to create. I'm my own boss. I can continue to serve, and also there's always going to be new challenges, and I can build it however I want, and I don't care. That's why I don't even put like income goals or things online. I barely have posted in the last little while, because like I don't need people to be impressed. And also those people that like hated on me and like comments and stuff like this, there's a certain point where you just don't give a shit anymore. Like there's no fucks left, and it doesn't matter what anybody says past that. You're like, cool, like, hey, you don't trust me? Find somebody you trust. You don't want me to be your mentor? Find somebody you want to mentor you. Great, amazing. Like, it doesn't faze me at all.
Yeah.
I wish I was like this in my 20s, but it's all right.
Perspective.
Got here eventually. Yeah, and I mean, again, there's the people that don't connect with you, and then there's the people who really do stick by you and celebrate you. And it's funny when the one person commented, I didn't even know this guy, he made a comment about my body, and like 8 people commented on his and like defended me that I didn't even know, but they were like, nah, I dig her, and I'm like, cool,
Yeah.
So it's always going to be a little this and that, so you can't believe all the praise and can't believe all the hate.
Yeah, most definitely. So now, even though, we have to seek validation in this world, though, it's very perception based, to be real. And what sucks is, even if you go after that without that perception somewhat being met, you can get taken advantage for, when they perceive you in a certain way, but at the same time, you just have to not let yourself be treated that way. That happened to me when I was like, I already know who I am, so I can take something that's lesser than, because I know that I can achieve more. But then I ended up getting taken advantage of because that person perceived me as that less, you know? But I don't even want to get into that. I want to get more into your business, because those 50K months are things people are striving to do this for themselves.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. You know, let's get into your coaching business, your courses. You know, how are you acquiring customers? How are you getting to these dollars?
You know, we're really aiming for a 6-figure month, but the difference between a 10K and a 50K is not that different. Doesn't necessarily require that much more infrastructure. You know, there's two people with the same kind of course or program that can get very, very different results. And one thing that I think has made a huge difference in the last year and a half for me was, you know, obviously my program, everything is, you know, connected to my values, and I really do love it, and I am, you know, emotionally invested in that regard. But I finally clicked in this other side of business is that it's not personal, it's math. For example, you know, my whole thing is like I have a master class, which by the way is free. Everybody's welcome there. But then I'm not here to enroll everybody in my program. I don't want everybody. I've kicked out one person from my program, and I was like, you know, I don't think it's a good fit. I think, you know, you should find something else. Refunded him, and I you know, let him leave the program. We're very, very particular about who we let in, and it's invitation only. And, you know, even though, you know, we were with this agency and they were trying to teach us all these sales strategies that were really like, you know, like the bro marketing, slimy. I didn't anticipate that they would be like that before we enrolled. And then I realized, yeah, this is not what we're about. For example, like our policy is if you do not show up for your strategy call, we do not reschedule you. That's it. You know? And their whole thing is like how to chase down people who didn't show up. I don't want to chase down people who didn't show up. You know? I want to invest in my students that are actually, you know, giving a shit, or the people who do go over and above to show up for a free call that we give them. And again, if somebody is not a good fit, we give them strategy to help them for the next little bit. Maybe later on they're going to be a good fit and they can come back. We don't force anybody's hands. We don't, you know, push them. You know, financially, we really try to make things accessible and work with everybody. If they have a desire, we'll make a way, you know, to help them out. So my business model is very much like value-based, but then I look at things, you know, we look at the numbers, we look at the data, you know, is this working? Is it not? You know, what do you need to tweak? Your whole business funnel or your sales funnel or whatever, it's a machine. And oftentimes something can be not flowing because there's like a clog at the very end or a little thing at the very end that needs to be tweaked. And we toss out the whole business model rather than looking at it analytically and, you know, giving it some grace and tuning. When I finally understood that we could tune certain aspects, and then that's when really we had, you know, a big breakthrough. For example, recently we've had over 200 strategy calls. We realized that half of them really fit into this category and another half fit into the other category. And we're like, we need to treat these people differently because they need different kind of strategy. So again, it's not personal, it's math. Like if these people got on a call and it didn't seem like a very good fit, what can we do for them? How can we serve them? Okay, do we need to build something separate? Let's build something separate for them, you know? Whereas people could be like, oh, 50% of these are a waste of time. No, there's opportunity there. So, you know, look at the data, track everything, and don't be so emotional about certain parts. You know, you did a class and you tripped up and you messed up, like I still get nervous, and I've literally done hundreds of live trainings and I still get nervous, and sometimes I do better than other times. Oh well, what happened? What went well? What was the feedback? What did people say when you emailed them? All this stuff is data, and that's why I'm saying is it's not more work to earn more. You can actually just go back, look at the data, tweak, like be humble. Be humble and be willing to do that deep dive and look at those numbers and not take it personal.
Mm-hmm. Let's dive deeper there. You know, when you say math, what do you mean? Like, is it just the amount of people you get into to opt in? Break that down of what the math really is.
So, for example, my model is, you know, you could do this organically, but we run ads right now. So let's say you run ads to a landing page to register for an event. Okay. You can see that people land on the page and they either register or they don't. Okay, well, what's your landing page conversion? Why are people bouncing? Mm-hmm. Test different copy. Maybe they actually want to learn something else. Maybe your wording is too confusing. You know, maybe you need to be a little bit more fine-tuned and direct. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now you've tweaked your landing page. Okay, and then you're wanting to fine-tune so that you have good attendance. Let's say attendance is like 20, 30, 40%, depends on the industry. And you're not getting that. Okay, so you figured out the landing page. Okay, you got your conversion there. Good. It seems like your copy is good. But then you're not having people show up. Okay, do you have enough emails that you're sending out? Did it end up in the trash can? Is there something with your domain that you need to verify? Could it be your email host, your email provider? Yeah. Could it be, you know, like, again, it's like, oh no, what's happened? Like, you can panic, but literally there's a reason. There is a reason. You know, if you got people in, but then they're not showing up, what's happening in that part of the journey? Could be the emails, could be that they're not getting to it, you know, to them. Maybe you need to send more. Maybe the link was wrong. We had that happen before. We sent the wrong link, and I was like, where are all my people? And it was the wrong, like, webinar link. Like, shit happens. Like, you're figuring it out. Be gracious with yourself and compassionate, and even just with your business. Okay, well, people are showing up, and then, okay, they're not booking a call. Well, maybe what you promised, you know, is not really connected between the landing page and the registration and then what you actually did in the class. Okay, so maybe you need to practice a little bit more to be a better instructor, to be a better, you know, trainer, right? Mm-hmm. You know, maybe you're really good at coaching people, but that live, you know, session you got flustered and nervous, and then now, you know, you got to do it again. So do it again until you are connecting with the right people. You get people on a call. Again, you know, we've done a few hundred calls, a couple hundred calls at this point. So now we've realized, again, these are people. They're not made of stone. They're people. This is dynamic. This is happening in a moment, and one call is not going to be like the next. So as you get on, then learning, you know, what's their story, what do they need, you know, how can you serve them, what their expectations are, what their self-limiting beliefs are, you know. People get on, I have people rank, like, what's your belief in yourself? You know, it's heartbreaking that some people say, like, 1. Can you imagine that somebody's coming on a call for strategy and they say that they don't have, you know, really a lot of faith in themselves? Like, sometimes these things end up being like coaching calls, you know, where we're like, you know, just really trying to encourage them and give them a sense of belief in themselves. You know, it's not even about, like, forget all the sales stuff. Hey, what have you been through? What's going on? Talk to me, right? Mm-hmm. You know, really come from a place of love. And so that's an experience in itself, you know, and you're going to figure that out. And then you're going to enroll students. And again, I made a mistake. You know, we let in somebody that wasn't a good fit, but what did we do? We made it right, you know? And so this is really, again, be gracious with yourself. I was actually more compassionate with my business than I was with myself at some point, and I realized that. I was like, okay, Veronika, you need to calm down. I was so critical of myself while I was so understanding with my business, you know? So yeah, that's what I mean when I say the numbers. So track everything. And then, you know, if you're not getting the conversions or the sales that you want, don't push it like this agency I was talking about. Don't try to do it in a slimy way. There's ways to get the right people in your community, and to do it with integrity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What the heck is bro sales? I ain't never heard of that in my life. When you heard of bro sales?
I've never heard
bro marketing.
Bro marketing, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, again,
break
it's
that
like
down.
bro marketing.
I don't even know what bro marketing is. I'm like, am I a bro marketer? Like, I had to like really like
you get triggered, bro?
think. I was definitely not triggered, but I was like, bro marketing. What in the world is that?
In the online space, bro marketing is really like, like these guys that are just showing, they've got their IG with like this, jet that they don't even own, but they just like found a thing to take photos with. And then there's all this fake, tripwire and like, sale, it's never going to happen again. And putting like time limits that aren't really real. Just like slimy sort of marketing.
Got you.
So that's something that, we have seen a lot in the online space. Fake urgency, where, if you could just open up an incognito window, you'll get that discount, stuff like that. And I think people are getting a bit jaded of that. It's something that we stay away from 110%. I'm not going to put any fake urgency. I don't think I need to do that. If I need to like trick somebody to buy from me, that just doesn't feel right. No, that doesn't feel right. I don't need to trick anybody.
Got you.
Again, you if you don't trust me, find somebody you trust. It's cool, you do you. It's all right.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I've seen quite a bit of that. I get what you're saying now. You have 1 day left. You better buy now, or the fake timer at the top. That's like the classic one, where it's like, or no, what's your opinion on it? So what's your opinion on evergreen webinars then? Because I actually was just on, I won't say the brand name, but it's actually a pretty prominent brand, and they're like, this webinar is starting in 7 minutes, and I click on them like, this is obviously like a staged interview, recorded,
Yeah.
So, let's knock that out, then we can wrap right after.
We're doing ours live, but eventually we're right now in the process of recording. My perspective on that is, if it's recorded, just say it's recorded. I'm not going to say it's live when it's not live.
Yeah.
Mine, that's the thing, is like people would show up to mine and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is live. Because they're like, is this live? And I'm like saying their name, I'm like, yeah, it's live. And they were really, really surprised. So, I mean, we're going to still continue from time to time to do live. Because we're going more global now. Like, the reality is not everybody's going to be able in Europe to attend at certain times. And, kids and family and all that, people are going back to their offices. So I just don't think that you need to fake something. Like, either somebody wants to watch the training and there's a pain point, something that they really need to solve, or they don't. Like, why? I don't think that kind of stuff is going to work anymore for the most part. And I'm glad it doesn't. I hate when people do that. Just be honest.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It shows your integrity as an entrepreneur or business, to say, hey, I know that this is manipulation, and I'm willing to take this manipulation to make more money. You know what I'm saying? That's what it really says at the end of the day, versus being able to say, hey, I could just say, hey, this is pre-recorded, so check this pre-recording out before you sign up with me. It's this a small difference that says a lot, I find, when it comes to marketing.
And
I know in our training too is like a lot of these trainings, webinars, the first like 30 minutes is just fluff of them like flaunting stuff, right? Rather than an actual training. Like with ours, I'm like, hey, if you want to check me out, like, here's my Instagram, go ahead. Here's a bit of background on me, but I'm going to hop into this training. So you guys are going to have 2 assignments by the end of this. And then we have 2 gifts for you at the very end to help you. But you got homework. So it's a real training. I just don't think you need to, like, authority, true authority and authority that lasts is built on authenticity. Once somebody's authenticity and integrity is in question, you never respect them again. Like, once you lose that, it is so fucking hard to get that back. When you find out somebody has been saying something and they're fake, good luck good luck getting trust back when it's lost.
And you know what hurts the most? It's like when that entrepreneur is a very reputable person. Like they're out here, they've been successful already, and then they revert back to like scammy tactics and etc. And you know, I'm gonna say, like, I don't care. Like, you know who I saw this doing? Freaking yeah. You know Damon John, right? Yeah. He had like he put up like a fake conference, like he's showing up in Toronto, and I saw these ads over and over. I was like, wow, like Damon John's gonna come to Toronto. So then I go deeper into
is that a Shark
Tank guy, yeah, Damon John, like bald guy, the black guy, exactly, right? I look at the marketing material for it. It's like Damon John, and in small print, his representatives are gonna be doing the thing for him. So Damon John is like presented. He's here. Like, I'm gonna be there. Damon John conference, but like Damon John is not there. So that's one instance. And then there's like a collaboration he did with like Grant Cardone for, I don't know, it was like some...
Grant Cardone's an interesting
I mean,
character.
like, we can go deeper into that. But they were doing like a Christmas kind of course reveal at the end of it. And then Grant Cardone asked him, like, okay, so this course is $997. Grant Cardone asks him, like, so, you know, and you know how Grant Cardone is like so intense and all that, right? He's like, so Damon, right? If you know, like, one guy right now who's listening to this, one guy, they have their last $1,000 left. Would you tell them to spend money on this course? Their last $1,000. And Damon John, without even blinking an eye, like, just shamelessly just says yes. And I'm like, man, how are you gonna just be that greedy and be all about the money, even though you want to deliver value, but like, you're not really caring about the other person's money. Right. It's Christmas. They like, you know, they have Grant Cardone has $1,000 left for Christmas to spend for this. This is the only money they have. He's like, yeah, spend money on this course. I just found it so slimy and just, I was like, man, you already have money. You're worth like $200 million plus. Why do you need to do these type of things? Like these fake gurus who are trying to make it by any means necessary by doing the fake webinars and these courses, etc. You know what I'm saying?
I just think that's not although I agree, like I have put my last bit of money towards a course or something that I would learn because I felt like that was a better investment than a thing. Oh yeah, like I don't regret that. But if somebody was like, if all you had was $1,000, would you put it like that's not how you entice somebody. It's either that they feel compelled or they don't. Mm-hmm. You know, it's either the thing that they want or they don't, you know? So, I mean, I think education is amazing. Right now, I'm getting into the YouTube space and I'm learning from a course. You know how I manage my ads? I learn from a course. The best stuff I ever invested in, honestly, was, again, this agency. We were supposed to outsource stuff. We ended up, closing out that partnership. That was supposed to be like they were going to do something for us. The best investments I've actually ever made were in self-study courses. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do think it's a good investment, but if somebody, you know, we have people that get on calls and they're like, you know, I have, you know, this is my last $1,000, but I've got this and this going. It's like, hey, if you want to do it, great. If you want to split this, if something else would be easier for you, if you want to, you know, let us know. We'll see what we can do, or we'll call you back or set up a meeting in a month or something, you know. But it's never twisting somebody's arm. It's like, hey, I want to do this. How do I do it? I don't know. Let's figure out how. You tell me. What's your situation? What do you need? How can I help you? But it's never begging somebody for their money. Like, those last few dollars when I did have, you know, barely had them or didn't have them and had to invest in myself, or I really had this, but I had this like yearning desire. Like I was like, I know if I learn this, I'm gonna fucking kill it. It's gonna be awesome. You know, it wasn't like somebody was taking from me. It was me giving to myself.
Got it. I'm very curious. What the hell were you taking? What were you trying to learn?
Oh gosh, I have probably, I mean, again, it depends on your learning style. I probably invested close to $50,000 in myself within the last couple of years. I think working one-on-one with coaches is kind of overrated. It's not to say that it can't work. Oftentimes people are like, I don't know if I'll like stick to self-study, you know. I don't know, when you got a fire in you, you will make it work. You will make it happen, and you're going to be hungry for that knowledge.
Knowledge.
You're going to be knowledge. You're going to be really hungry for it. You're going to make it happen. You know, you're going to get up. You're going to put the extra hours in. You're going to stay up late. I mean, that's how you build a business, right? So my favorite things were actually self-study courses. They were higher ticket courses between like 2 and 8K. But you're the secret sauce. Like, your coach is not really the secret sauce. You're the secret sauce. You gotta fucking apply everything that you're reading and you're learning, or else nothing's gonna happen. Some people think that they can trade money for motivation. You gotta bring the motivation first.
Facts. Yeah. You can buy the tools, but you can't buy the sauce.
Yeah.
Veronika, like,
what was it though? Sorry. Yeah. What was it? Yeah.
The most recent course I'm taking is
No, the one that you spent your last dollars on. You said that you had like a few left, but you know, I was like, all right, I'm investing myself no matter what. What was that moment? What did you invest in? What was it, that thing that was so worth it?
I feel like I've done this numerous times in my life. I mean, like, which time?
Oh, wow.
mean, some interior design courses when I was starting my renovation business, understanding color theory, all this kind of stuff. Again, like a Facebook ads course, YouTube course. I took a coaching program, and it's interesting, actually. Sometimes what you learn is what is not right for you. And I think that's just as valuable, you know, that there was a coaching program that I took, and I realized it didn't jive with me. It didn't. There were some one-on-one coaches that I invested in, and we did not jive. Even if you take 10% from that, and the rest is what you know doesn't work, that you wouldn't have learned that unless you invested that money. Really, it would have been. It's expensive, but very quick learning experience. Same with that agency. You know, I thought this was going to be the thing that was really going to get us, you know, to fast track. No, it wasn't. It was realizing that that was not a culture fit for us, and that we were not going to operate that way. It was a quick and fast lesson, and I'm grateful for it. I'm really grateful for it. It's not a waste of money. So all these things just, they made such a big impact. Yeah, all of them.
All right. Yeah, offline we got to talk about which agency. I don't want to get spilled tea-ish, but like I definitely want to dig in, because I'm an agency owner. You know what I'm saying? I own a paid media agency, so I definitely want to learn from your hot stove that you touched, and not make myself the hot stove. But working towards wrapping up, firstly, I just want to say you've been a great guest, and I appreciate all the transparency you've been able to give us throughout the episode today. As we work towards wrapping up, for the entrepreneur that's in their silo, that's lonely, that's grinding day in and day out to make it happen, what words do you have for them?
It's not just, it's not the hustle. The biggest difference that I found was looking at the data. Look at the data. Don't be scared. And realize that sometimes it's a couple components that need to be tuned that will make all the difference. Be humble. Constantly be learning. For me, it's not just these courses. Even if it's YouTube videos, or again, I sign up for master classes and webinars all the time. Stay hungry, stay learning, stay humble, because, pride really does come before the fall. And, as soon as you might think like you got it all together, something can pull the rug from under you. So educate yourself, consume as much knowledge as you can, stay hungry. There are no shortcuts. Learn all components of your business from the ground up as much as possible before you outsource them. So that's the advice that I would take. There's not a shortcut, but if you do those things, you can have success in a relatively short period of time, but you're going to feel like you lived a decade in like half a year. You know, you can learn really fast, but it'll be like fast and hard, but that's okay. That's okay.
And to put a bow on it, right? One thing you mentioned earlier that I found interesting is there's a certain point you said, I feel like I made it, right? Quickly share what making it is to you.
You know, as much as like a big milestone month felt, and I know that we've got bigger ones ahead as to like what we're going to be earning, I think the thing I'm the proudest of right now is I always wanted to support my mom. Again, single mom growing up, raised us 3 kids, escaped a communist country, was in refugee camps, all this kind of stuff. She had a hard life, and you know, I saw her growing up, and I always just wanted to take care of my mom. And this year was the first year that I started paying for her housing and for her living costs. That for me, that's one of the biggest moments for me, was taking care of mom. Another big one that is coming up is we're budgeting to give at least 5 and then eventually 10% towards microloans to support basically entrepreneurs around the world in developing countries. For me to hit that milestone, that's going to be the next big thing. That, you know, we're helping, you know, podcasters become entrepreneurs, but to also help people in developing countries have a chance and get a leg up. That's something that I know I'll be very proud of. So mom first, and then, you know, going to continue taking care of others.
Amazing.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah, couldn't agree more. All right, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the hustle is what you can control. What you can control. So control your life and control your grind. I said that wrong.
Right.
I said that already. I was so
You're
close.
trying to get too saucy, bro.
I was trying to get too saucy with it.
But it was good. It was good. I liked it.
All right.
Thanks so much, guys.
Take two. The hustle is what you can control. So control your grind and control your life.
There you go.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Owen.
I guess I'm Veronika.
Bang, bang.
Thanks, guys.
And that's Hustle Over Everything, y'all. Peace.
Peace out.
Thank you so much for listening. The conversation continues on our Instagram at 247hustler. We post very frequently. And be sure to check out our merch at hustleovereverything.co. We have some amazing sweaters, hats, mugs, and a lot more. Lastly, our Proud to Pay program is linked in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. Talk to you next Monday. Peace. So I have a question for you. What's the best email marketing platform for creators? It's ConvertKit. It combines powerful automation with an easy-to-use interface. The heart of their business is their visual automation tool that allows you to deliver the right message to your audience at the right time. They have pre-built landing pages and forums, so creating and sending out copy is extremely easy. I personally use it with my business when I'm doing webinars. And you can use it too. Right now, we have an exclusive offer for you. ConvertKit is giving you a freemium membership with full access to the landing pages, forums, and email marketing for free, up to 1,000 subscribers. They are one of the only platforms that allows you to add your Facebook pixel to it for free. It allows you to create automation, and it allows you to get the ball rolling with your business. And of course, it integrates with Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, Gumroad, and a ton of other platforms. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit the podcast description and click the link there to get you to this freemium account. It's an amazing service, so make sure you try it out, guys. Let me know how it goes for you. I want to know. All right, let's get into the show.